Hello, my name is Dave, and today on my quest to beat everything, we return to Warhammer Rogue Trader. We pick up right where we left off at the end of last episode, having finally recruited a navigator for our Voidship, in the form of Lady Cassia or Celio. Let's immediately check in on her and see how she might be settling in.
Words cannot describe how boring the bridge is without our stimulating conversations.
We'll keep it simple and ask her about herself first.
I am a part of House Celio, an ancient dynasty of the Navis nobility. Since time immemorial, our family has served to advance knowledge, pushing at the boundaries of the dark unknown. The Starway Atlas contains 2,843 routes that chart the sectors of the Segmentum Obscurus and reach all the way from the Koronus Expanse to Holy Terror.
Let's not interrupt her and listen in silence.
And uniting the Imperium's thousands of worlds. House Celio is bound by commercial pacts to houses Galeatis, Ortina, Drotus, and... There is a dark blue knot tightening on your neck, Lord Captain. I can see my reply is not satisfying your thirst for knowledge. What is it you desire to hear exactly?
We'll reiterate to her that it's her we want to hear about, not her house.
A navigator is given life only to serve their house. Our every breath, every word, every deed is for the good and prosperity of our house. By looking at me and not seeing the house, you only see a fleeting shadow. If that is what interests you, ask.
It sounds like she's never left Urac 5. Let's see if that's the case.
Hardly. According to the chronicles of the house, I was born on one of the Celio worlds. What was it? Please forgive me, Lord Captain. My childhood memories are too vague. Sometimes I dream about the colorful birds that built their nests in the garden, or the servants dressed in purple livery, or the blue fog that rolled over the lowlands behind the palace. But everything is covered in a rosy haze. Perhaps it is my imagination, not my memory, that is painting these pictures.
Let's see what her life was like on Urac 5.
My stay on the station was wholly dedicated to preparing me for my future duty. Astromancy, astrography, numerology, the histories of my house and the Imperium, as well as other disciplines. For many years, dozens of instructors tirelessly prepared me for my destiny. And once a year, Great Regent Alronto would come to the station. He would entrust his beautiful vessel to my command, so that I could master the practical aspects of our art as well.
Seems quite lonely. Let's see if she had any friends.
The Regent gave me a bird from a sunlit planet once. I tried to befriend it and make it sing, but for some reason, it refused, and died soon after. The instructors were too respectful of my duty to my house to waste precious time on idle chatter. Aside from them, there were only servants on the station. And you know they have their vocal cords removed, so they cannot break their vow of silence. And since the subject has been breached, Lord Captain, why do you not follow this honored tradition? Your decks are so garish. Apologies, I meant noisy. The rabble don't just chatter. Sometimes they shout and even sing. Why do you allow such a lack of restraint? Rogue traders are highborn, are they not?
Believe it or not, we're not in the habit of removing the voices from our servants. Well, maybe not yet, at least.
Please forgive me, Lord Captain. I was sure it was a sacred tradition made sacrosanct by the ancient vows of obedience. I expect more surprises will be waiting for me outside the walls of Urac 5.
While we have a chance, let's ask her about her third eye.
The Navigator's open eye is baneful to whoever the warp's ruinous shine falls upon, and therefore it is the symbol of our power. We are the guiding stars of humanity, found worthy of an uncommon gift, and one of the duties that we bear is to guard our eye, even from wayward glances that may bear evil. Besides, I am aware that Lesser servants of the Imperium may find our appearance repulsive. The navigator gene twists the features the rabble are used to seeing, and the magnificence of our role cannot be grasped by their feeble minds.
We'll boost her confidence here a little, and tell her that we don't find her repulsive.
Perhaps my appearance does not terrify you right now, but this will not always be so. The navigator gene is unstable. My body is going to change over time. And only the God Emperor knows exactly how.
Let's also ask her how it feels to guide a ship through the warp.
It may be difficult to describe. You see, every navigator perceives the warp differently. My mentor, Great Regent Auronto, always described his travels through the Imperium as a journey through a vast wood with countless paths. And I, assisting him in the first voyages, futilely tried to follow his example. But the wood would not reveal itself to me. But everything changed when I found my own key to this mystery. You see, I've always brightened up my rare moments of leisure time by painting. You may recall there was a workshop in my chambers. As soon as I imagined the warp as a blank canvas, an indescribable feeling came over me. I moved the brush, going deeper and deeper into my own painting. Visions were hidden within the vibrant colors of my palette, and something inside me knew which should be brought out and which should be left behind. I woke up several days later, after the voyage was safely complete.
We'll also comment here on her love for painting.
The Emperor graced me with a gift. I can see inner life in addition to the mundane. You cannot know that a fruit has rotten from the inside until a blade slices it in two. I can see the rot from far away. It roils like swamp mud, oozing through the bright peel. Anger and boredom, sadness and joy. Everything that people shut away inside themselves is revealed to me like colors on the canvas of my world.
Let's change the subject now.
You will hear no objection from me, Lord Captain.
We'll speak instead about House Arcelio.
As the only voice of our family on this vessel, it is an honor. As long as your questions are courteous, I will answer every one of them.
We'll start with the history of the house.
Oh, yes. The navigators of the house came to the Koronus Expanse fairly recently, a mere 208 years ago. Before that, our ancestors expanded the borders of humankind's dominion for the glory of the Emperor, blazing trails to different corners of the galaxy.
The logical next question here is who rules the house?
Just as a rogue trader stands at the head of a protectorate, a Novator heads a navigator house. It is the Novator who decides where to look for alliances and which path their bloodline is destined to tread. As for our house, the transfer of power to a successor is currently underway. In the meantime, Great Regent Auronto Orcelio is ensuring the stability of the house.
It seems that could be why Felic decided to sabotage Urak 5. Maybe Cassia herself is the Novator's successor.
So, says Regent Auronto. Nothing is decided yet. Some people in the house become enshrouded in rolling grey clouds at the thought of me becoming the Novator. But even more are bound with dull leaden chains. They think I am not ready for such a burden.
An automatic success on our Imperium lore check here allows us to ask if the Arcelio prophecy system is named after her ancestor.
You are shrewd indeed. My ancestor charted that route while fleeing the enemies of humanity. They say the Emperor himself was his guide, because the warp expelled their vessel without a single loss. Unfortunately, the lips of those who relate this tale seep with disgusting green hubris. I think Kalain Orcelio was simply a skilled navigator.
And once again, we'll change the subject.
By all means.
We'll now ask what her special sight might reveal.
Sister Argenta shines like a guiding star, inspiring resolve in those around her, seemingly inexplicably. However, I see a dark and ugly fog billow behind her. contrasting sharply with her shining light. It burdens the Sister of Battle. It drags her down. Yet Argenta herself is hardly aware of it. Seneschal Viserion is among the few whose colors are a pleasure to look at. Whenever the Seneschal speaks, heavenly crystal clarity spreads around him. And whenever he is angered, dark blue clouds condense over him. And in his rare moments of joy, a pure gleam of sunset pink caresses the souls of those near him. Out of your entire retinue, Lord Captain, he is the only one I would trust with my life. Idira's emotions are like a maelstrom, bright, unbridled, enveloping her form like a wondrous kaleidoscope of colors. And as dangerous as a twisting warp storm. The riot of colors hides the truth from my eyes. What exactly is driving this woman? Is it her own will, or is it the Imperium, Lord Captain?
Some very interesting insights there.
I have enjoyed your company. Thank you for the conversation.
So let's take our leave. Following that, we'll go speak to our Master Helmsman Ravor. We'll ask him what he makes of the new navigator. He seems to not feel particularly safe with her pulling the ship through the void, referring to her as a princess, although he does admit that she's faring well so far. Let's finally go and take a look around the Lord Captain's quarters. There's quite a few points of interest here to look at, so we'll speed through those. With that out of the way then, we'll take a look in this chest next to the desk. Inside we'll find a few weapons that might be helpful later on. Then in the sleeping chambers inside the wardrobe we'll find a data slate, though its information seems to be corrupted. On the vanity then, we find an unfinished letter. It seems to be referencing Kunrad here. And with that out of the way, we'll head across the hallway to the bath chamber to begin our ablutions. Finally, Cassius gets a moment to relax a little, away from the chaos of the bridge and the immediate worries of the rogue trader. His thoughts will drift, then, to the price paid for power, along with the people and things he will sacrifice for the sake of it. This gains us another 3 heretic conviction points. With our personal ablutions out of the way, we'll send for Adalbert. Perhaps he can bring some entertainment to this brief moment of respite. He has something else in mind, however, instead taking this as an opportunity to give us a lecture, claiming that the new rogue trader should not be ignorant of their origins. Let's tell him that we already know about the dynasty's history. Something tells me he doubts us and asks us to name the dynasty's founder. A successful Imperium lore test here helps us, revealing that nobody actually knows the name of the von Valancius dynasty founder. With that, Abelard is convinced that we are putting in the work to learn about our origins and returns to his post. While we're here, we may as well keep the party going and invite the nearby enforcers to join us. They're a bit hesitant at first, but we'll put them at ease. Let's take the time to get to know our enforcers a little bit better, what their responsibilities are and such. For hundreds of years, their clan has been responsible for ensuring the road trader is safe during times of leisure. They claim that the bath chamber itself can be more dangerous than any battlefield. Wet tiles can cause slips, the water could be so hot that it would burn and such. I'll take their word for it. It's reassuring to know that our attendants take such pride in their duties. We'll keep it personal now and ask them about what they do in their free time. Quite as expected, it seems they maintain their gear and train for the most part. When they do have time to themselves, Nima here likes to play a game called Tantulo, while Bran carves things out of soap. Let's put his skills to the test. Having passed Bran a piece of soap and a knife, after a few moments he is able to produce a rather well-carved bust of the Emperor. We'll reward him and tell him that we're going to keep it in our study. He seems rather thrilled at that. With not much else to do, we'll enjoy ourselves a little bit and have some amasec and enjoy some food until we finally finish up with our ablutions. We will return here in the future to have some visits from the other members of our retinue. There's an achievement to spend time with all companions up to the Void Shadows companion like this, so we'll definitely have to meet all of them. With that out of the way, we'll return to the bridge and from there make our way to the Voidship Shrine. Here we find a power maul on display in one of the reliquaries. Perhaps we'll have to get that for ourselves. And with a push of the button on the side, a puzzle triggers. It seems we'll have to step on those pressure pads in the correct sequence.
And how?
We'll begin with the middle left. Then we'll go to the back right. Then to the back left. Then middle right. And finally, the very middle. With all that done, the reliquary lowers, and we can retrieve that power maul for ourselves. It has some decent stats and a rather nice power swing ability. We'll definitely be making use of that in the future. Now we'll go and speak to the Confessor here. He greets us, and we'll start by asking him what he does on the ship. He is the ship's spiritual guide and a member of the Ecclesiarchy. He is trusted with caring for the chapel here as well as the dynastic crypt, and he performs liturgies for the crew to strengthen their hearts. Let's ask him more about this dynastic crypt. It seems that every rogue trader from the dynasty reposes here, mainly because the dynasty's capital world may change or be lost. Let's also ask him about this shrine. Namely, we'll ask him if this is the only place to worship on the ship. And he tells us that no, it is not. This is simply where the noblest servants can come to pray. We'll ignore the iconoclast option here and move on to asking about the relics. He tells us that all of the relics were tracked down by our ancestors, captured in battle, or received as gifts. Moving on from that, we'll ask him about the tenets of the Imperium. Our main takeaway from this is that he tells us to beware of witches, for they have been stained by the warp. Let's ask him about that, being a psyker ourselves. He tells us he understands and that we are right, that some psykers are working hard for the good of humanity, but only those who embrace the Emperor's light. Idira is not too happy with his answer. We'll then ask him about the prosecution of mutants, specifically navigators and their mutations. Similarly, he claims that navigators work hard to serve humanity and the Emperor, and that we should see that as a higher purpose to please the Emperor. Cassia thanks him for his kind words and his acknowledgement of the greatness of their deeds. We'll also ask about the Adeptus Mechanicus and how they worship the Omnissiah, and if they really share our beliefs or not. He tells us that the Omnissiah is just another likeness for the Emperor, and that we all believe in the One. Now let's really test him. Our warrant entitles us to violate the Imperial Creed. What does he have to say about that? He tells us that it's not considered a violation, because it is the duty of the rogue trader. Let's comment here on the many holes in the Imperium's religion. I'm sure he won't be too upset about that kind of a comment. In fact, it's Argenta who gets upset first. And shortly after, the Confessor cuts our conversation short. Nothing else to do here. We'll return back to the elevator and make our way to the Sanctum Bionica. Walking up the steps, we get to see the Great Implantation Throne. This is something we'll make use of later on to install augments into our characters, but for now it seems to be broken and tended to by the tech priests. We are then greeted by the High Factotum, who thanks us for coming. Drive Master Zira, who we previously met at the officer briefing, is also here. Zira informs us that the machine spirit within the throne is fading. The throne itself is a creation of the Omnissiah that was made centuries ago, and even before it was damaged, they struggled to maintain it. We'll start by asking why this machine is so important. As it turns out, the machine is one of a kind and unique. It is capable of autonomous augmentation, and its loss would be bordering on sacrilege. The high factotum adds here that only the rogue trader, and those given permission by the rogue trader, can make use of it. It is invaluable. When asking how the machine was damaged, the high factotum tells us that during the rebellion, the sector Bionica was besieged. They managed to hold off the rebels for as much as they could, but they were eventually bested. When asked about the sacraments that the throne can do, Zira tells us that it is capable of autonomous healing and augmentation. It is a true miracle. So let's see how we can save it. It seems that only a high-ranking Genetor Extremis is capable of fixing the throne. Zira guesses we may find such a person on the cloistered station of Ultra Tempulum Calixus Ext-17. The High Factotum tells us that this station is in the Furibundus system, so we will rely on his connections to get it done. Before we depart, the High Factotum then invites us to meet the Genetor Majoris and the Vivisector, who are currently performing an urgent procedure. Let's go along with him and have a look. Before us, we see a man on an operating table. He seems to be strapped down and things are looking quite grim. The man's mother is also here and is pleading for him to be saved. We then meet the Vivisector Martinax, who wishes us to observe the procedure, and the Genetor Ferrenz, who greets us too and asks us the same. Let's examine the patient. Saying this was grim is a bit of an understatement. It seems he's chained to the table with the top of his skull missing. Martinax comments that our presence seems to be influencing the patient, so we will continue to just look at him. The man stares back at us, though the pain is clearly visible on his face. Let's address him directly and tell him to hold on for the sake of his mother. The man's gaze then moves from us to his mother, and the pained grimace seems to have been replaced with a slight smile. Even through the pain, he blesses us, a commendable show of resolve. Ferrenz then notes the stabilization of the patient. He calls for the wound to be closed and the administration of B-class stimulants. Martinax, however, suggests that we implant an augment into his skull to fully restore his ability to think and act. Ferrenz, however, interjects, telling us that the value of this servant is minuscule and that it would be a vast waste of a rare and restricted augment. Before we make any decision, we should get some more information for ourselves. Firstly, who the man is. Ferrenz tells us that he is wholly expendable, whereas Martinax tells us that he is a voidsman, one of the men fighting in our service. His mother also butts in here, blaming herself. The next important question is, how was the man injured? Martinax here tells us that he was injured in the last void battle. Before our final decision, we'll refer to Ferrenz and Martinax about their proposals. Martinax is the first to speak. It is their opinion that augmenting the man will inspire the people and strengthen their faith in us as the rogue trader. However, Ferrenz, on the other hand, believes that the man is wholly replaceable and does not provide any substantial functional value. Therefore, implanting him with this augment would be devoid of sense. Having heard all of that information, I believe we've made our decision. The man can do without the expensive augment. With that, Ferrenz moves to finish up the procedure, and the patient's mother thanks us for our mercy. Now that we're free to explore the sector Bionica, we'll start by looting this container over here to the side, finding some trade goods. Let's then go and speak to Vivisector Martinax. They greet us, apologizing for their appearance, and they also remind us to repair the throne quickly. So let's talk about that. Apparently, the machine spirit inside the throne became a bit of a mentor to Martinax. The machine operates at a level that no human can replicate. Let's now ask about the sector itself. The sector Bionica is a special Medicae facility. Here they replace lost organs with consecrated technology. With that in mind, we'll ask what the Vivisector does. The Vivisector's main job is to heal flesh, as well as studying how augments can be grafted to flesh. They most definitely work in close tandem with the Genetor. That seems to be the case, and Martinax speaks highly of Genetor Ferrenz. Between the two of them, it seems that Ferrenz holds authority when it comes to final say on operations. With those questions out of the way, we'll get on to some more personal questions. Firstly, by asking how Martinax came to work on the flagship. It seems Martinax comes from a noble line on the dynasty world of Janus. Their family is known for its terraforming technology, though Martinax sought to transform people instead of planets. Let's comment on the fact that Martinax is the only non-tech priest here. It seems that the Genetor's knowledge is lacking when it comes to tending mortal bodies, so a Vivisector is needed in some capacity when it comes to augmentations. And finally, with a persuasion test here, let's see if we can figure out Martinax's relationship with Ferrenz. A success reveals that the two often disagree. Ferrenz believes that replacing flesh with machine is a privilege for the few. However, Martinax believes that every soul deserves a chance to continue working for the glory of humanity. It's not always easy for them to compromise. With that, we'll leave the Vivisector and go about our business, namely this locked box up here next to the throne. We will use Cassius's tech skill to open it. And inside we find some better medkits, a couple of stims, and an implant that we should be able to use once we fix the throne. While we're here, we may as well take a moment to speak with Genetor Ferrenz as well. He greets us about as well as can be expected of a tech priest, and he also thanks us for choosing not to waste the augment earlier. Like the Vivisector before, he reminds us of the importance of repairing the augmentation throne, so we'll begin our conversation by asking about that. He believes the machine spirit within the throne blesses all of those around it. It is filled with a wisdom that cannot be lost. The spirit is idle, and the motive force cannot nourish it. As we did with the Vivisector, we'll ask Ferrenz about the sector Bionica. He tells us that the sector performs the repair and installation of sacred augments. So we'll ask about what the Genetor Majoris does. It seems those bearing this rank bestow the blessings on the installation, consecration, and maintenance of the sacred augments, drawing the feeble bodies of humanity closer to the Omnissiah. When asked about the Vivisector, Ferrenz comments that he just prepares the carrier for the sacred augments. And when we ask him who has final say during these procedures, he tells us that his will bears the sanction of highest order, and his say is final. And then we'll ask him some personal questions. The first being how he came to serve in the sector Bionica. Ferrenz used to work in the Manufactorum on Kiava Gamma. He ascended to the rank of Genetor and then was deployed here. Let's also ask if tech priests are allowed to work with living flesh, seeing as they hold it in contempt. To that, he tells us that his purpose is to improve. Flesh is weak, but it can be made more efficient with blessed metal. And now we'll make an awareness check to see how his relationship is with the Vivisector. A success reveals that Martinax frequently ignores the requirements of efficiency to the Omnissiah, attributing it instead to experiences. With nothing else to discuss, we bid Ferrenz farewell and move to loot the final container in this area. Inside we find some more trade goods. Returning then at last to the Voidship Bridge, we can finally reach a natural point to make the cut in today's episode. We learned a lot today, and leave ourselves in a good position to go back out and set boots on the ground in the next episode, so please look forward to that. I would also like to let you all know that I will be starting a new series, possibly this coming Friday. This new series will run in tandem with Rogue Trader, and will take up the Friday upload slot going forward. With that, I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do remember to like and subscribe. Both actions really help the channel grow. As always, I'll see you in the next one.